Hi and welcome back. So in this video, we're going to look at how does the equilibrium in the labor market impact output in the economy. So firstly, we need to move from unemployment to employment. So one thing we need to bear in mind is that for every existing unemployment, there is a prevailing employment. As well, associated with the natural rate of unemployment is the natural level of employment. So this is the level of employment that prevails when unemployment rate is equals to the natural level of unemployment. So to go about this, let's review the relationship between unemployment, employment, and the labor force. So this relationship is represented by this equation. So the first part of the equation represents the definition of unemployment rate, which is the ratio of the unemployed and the labor force. So the second part of the equation follows from the definition of labor force. So the level of unemployment is the labor force minus employed, which is N, this part, and divided by the labor force, which gives us our unemployment rate. So the third part of the equation follows from simplifying the fraction. So putting everything together, we conclude that our unemployment rate is given by 1 minus the ratio of the employed to labor force, this fraction here. So rearranging to get unemployment in terms of the labor force and unemployment rate, we can then get to this equation where we say our employment is given by is equals to labor force times 1 minus unemployment rate. So if natural rate of unemployment is represented by UN and labor force is represented by L, then the natural level of employment is given by the equation. That is basically an imposing of the previous employment equation to its natural level, where we say the natural level or the natural rate of employment is basically equals to the labor force into 1 minus the natural rate of unemployment. So this simply emphasizes the relationship between employment, labor force, and unemployment rate. So this equation can be used to calculate the natural level of employment in the economy. So given the labor force of maybe, as shown here in our data, of 150 million and a 5% natural rate of unemployment, we can then calculate a natural level of employment that prevails when the unemployment rate is it's natural. So in this case, it will be given by this this number here. So it's 142 million people will be regarded as employed, given that unemployment is at its natural rate. So from the production function that we developed earlier, we can then move from employment to output on the same vein. So let's see how. So how do we move from unemployment to output? Through employment. So natural level of unemployment is associated with a natural level of output. So this is the level of output that prevails when unemployment is at its natural level. So from the simplification of our production function, we know that output is equals to employment. And therefore, it means that the natural level of output is given by the natural level of employment. So this relationship can be shown there. So given that the natural level of unemployment and the natural level of output is equal to the natural level of employment, therefore we can use the same equation to get natural level of output. But then, since we're more interested about moving from unemployment, natural level of unemployment to natural level of output, then we can use the natural level of unemployment equation, but using output instead of N, which is employment. So using this relation and the equilibrium equation, the natural level of output satisfies the following equation, this equation right here. So this relationship between output, employment, and unemployment, as well as the equilibrium in the labor market, can then satisfy us this equation. So what does it tell us? It tells us that the natural level of output, which is Yn, is such that at the associated rate of unemployment, which is basically when unemployment is equals to that, unemployment rate is equals to that, the real wage chosen in the wage setting relation must be equals to the real wage implied by the price setting relation. So this equation will be very useful as we proceed to the next chapters. Okay, so let's conclude on key points that we've discovered in this chapter. So firstly, we know that the real wage chosen in the wage setting is a decreasing function of unemployment rate, meaning that there's a negative relationship between unemployment rate and the real wage that is chosen in the wage setting relation. Second, we know that the real wage implied by the price setting is constant, meaning that it is not affected by where it's constant to unemployment. So it doesn't have a relationship with unemployment. So thirdly, equilibrium in the labor market requires that the real wage chosen in the wage setting be equal to the real wage implied by the price setting. This determines the equilibrium in the equilibrium unemployment rate, which is also known as the natural level or natural rate of unemployment. So the equilibrium unemployment rate is known as the natural rate of unemployment. So finally, what we've just covered now is that associated with the natural rate of unemployment is the natural level of employment and the natural level of output. Okay, so we've come to the end of chapter 6, our labor market. However, in the next chapters, we'll be using some of the factors we've covered in this chapter. Okay, thank you.